Welcome to our National Popular Vote webinar. We're really thrilled to have you, and I'm delighted that there are so many of you. I wanted to start out by saying we believe it's the right time to pass the national popular vote. We think that electing the president by popular vote is an important issue, and that this is the time for a nonpartisan agreement to make this happen. We're sure you're going to enjoy this campaign, and if you get into it, you're going to gain new league members in the process of running the campaign. I'm Nancy Cohen. I'm chair of this National Popular Vote team, and I'm a League of Women Voters Palm Beach County member. I'm also co-chair of the Voting Rights Coalition of Palm Beach County. To me, as a voting rights activist, the Electoral College is a voting rights issue. Our important public servants are all elected by popular vote except for the president. With the Electoral College, our votes don't count equally the way it is put together these days. It's time to elect the president by direct popular vote. So let's get started. I'll talk about how you can get started with our campaign to educate and reach out to everyone, and I'll talk about our Palm Beach experiences. And here are our other presenters. Christina Pimenta is our intern. She's studying for her master's in poli-sci at FAU, and she's going to talk about using social media. Lenny Jones, AKA Etheline Jones, is the League Florida Speakers Bureau chair, and she's going to talk about how to use the Electoral College PowerPoint. And Kathleen Crampton is a great, passionate advocate and a brand new member to the League of Women Voters. She's going to talk about our ambitious legislative program. And behind the scenes is Abdillah, who really is running this webinar and has been terrific. Thanks, Abdillah. Here's what we'd like to achieve. We'd like to bring the issue alive via a fun video on the Electoral College and the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. We want to explain why the League supports the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. And we want to talk about our campaign strategies, including education, using our ready-to-use resources, social media, voter education, the Speakers Bureau PowerPoint. We want to enlist your support, and at the end, we want to answer your questions and get you excited about this. At the end of the webinar, you guys will all be prepared to educate your members, your citizens, and your legislators about the Electoral College and MPVIC. And you're going to be ready to build awareness and a sense of urgency and help us influence our legislators, work with our team to get MPVIC bills heard in both states, houses of the Florida legislature in the 2018 session. So, meet Pop Vote. This is a short take on the Electoral College and the National Popular Vote.
Hello, and welcome to The National Popular Vote Explained by me, Pop Vote. Some people love the Electoral College. Others prefer the popular vote. But most don't know about the third option, an option that fixes the problems with our current electoral system without abolishing the Electoral College. It's called the National Popular Vote Bill, and it's only kind of what it sounds like. You see, when most people talk about the popular vote, they talk about it as opposed to the Electoral College. Some argue that we should abolish the Electoral College and instead institute direct elections because the Electoral College doesn't always elect the candidate with the most votes. Others love the Electoral College as it gives increased importance to smaller states, something direct elections don't do. But here's the thing, both these views are wrong. The Electoral College and the popular vote can coexist. And, well, our founding fathers probably imagined them as complementary ideas, each one strengthening the other, and in turn, our country. Let me explain. The Constitution establishes the Electoral College, stating that each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislator thereof may direct, a number of electors, equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in Congress. The second part of that statement, the highlighted part, is what you learned about the Electoral College in school. Each state gets a predetermined number of votes for president. This number is simply the number of senators the state has, which is 2, plus the number of representatives the state has, which is determined by the population of the state. This means that big old Texas, with its 2 senators and 36 representatives, gets 38 electors, while little Rhode Island, which also has 2 senators, but only 2 representatives, gets 4 electors, which is still not a lot, but it's more representation than Rhode Island would have gone with direct elections. So, you understand the second part of this statement, but the first part is where the interesting stuff happens. You see, the Founding Fathers wanted to give states the ability to choose their votes for president, in such manner as the legislator thereof may direct. In other words, without input from the federal government. This means that if states don't like how we elect the president, they can change our electoral system. No constitutional amendment needed. And, well, most states don't like our current winner-take-all system because it destroys the original intention of the Electoral College, to give smaller states more power, and instead gives the power to swing states. Not to mention that the winner-take-all system often leads to wacky election outcomes. This is where the National Popular Vote Bill comes in. You see, the National Popular Vote Bill would fix the problems with the winner-take-all system without abolishing the Electoral College or amending the Constitution. And the whole thing's pretty simple. Here's how it works. Right now, almost every state operates under the winner-take-all system. Each winner-take-all state has passed a bill that gives all that state's presidential electors to the winner of the statewide popular vote. Remember, states can choose how to allocate their electoral votes because the Constitution allows states to choose how they appoint electors. By the same token, states may change how they choose electors at any time. So states can pass the National Popular Vote Bill. By passing the National Popular Vote, all states are saying is that they will give all their presidential electors to the winner of the nationwide popular vote instead of the statewide popular vote. But hold your horses before shouting democracy from the rooftops, because the law doesn't go into effect until states containing at least 270 electoral votes, the number necessary to guarantee the presidency to the winner of the nationwide popular vote, have signed on to the bill. This means that as soon as states containing 270 electoral votes have passed the national popular vote, the presidency will be guaranteed to the winner of the nationwide popular vote. No longer will the winner-take-all system hinder the Electoral College. Now, the national popular vote is already well on its way to becoming a reality. The bill is already 61% to completion. 10 states and Washington, D.C. have already signed the bill into law. For the relatively short amount of time the national popular vote has existed, its momentum has been truly astounding. Small states support the bill because the winner-take-all system gives swing states the power the Electoral College was supposed to give smaller states. Large states support the bill because the winner-take-all system forces candidates to ignore big states in favor of swing states. A majority of Republicans support the bill. A majority of Democrats support the bill. The young and the old both support the bill. Probably most heartwarming of all is the fact that the majority of swing state voters support the national popular vote. Mind you, under the national popular vote, swing state voters would give up their monopoly on presidential election attention, instead opting to share their electoral power with the country as a whole. It just goes to show you that Americans really do value the integrity of their democracy above themselves. And that's what the national popular vote's about. Restoring the integrity of our democracy, the right way.
So there are some important points that are being made in this very cute video. And basically, they are that the Electoral College doesn't work the way it was supposed to in the beginning. And we've possibly outgrown it. The way the Electoral College works is the Constitution specifies indirect election. The vice president and the president are to be chosen every 4 years by a small group of people referred to as electors. Each state is entitled to as many electoral votes as the sum of its representatives in Congress. So there are 435 representatives, plus 100 senators, plus 3 electors for Washington, D.C. equals 538 electoral votes. Florida has 27 House members and 2 senators, so we have 29 electoral college votes. And the majority of electoral college votes are required for election. Currently 270 votes out of 538. So that may have worked pretty well in the beginning. But the population of the country has grown very, very unevenly. So what happens is now the population of a large state, and Florida is now the 3rd largest state in the country, is worth way less. It results in an allocation of electoral votes that is way less than the population of the least popular states. So our 29 electoral college votes and our population of almost 20 million people, compare that to Wyoming, which has 3 electoral college votes and a population of less than 600,000 people. So your Florida vote is worth less than a third of vote in the least populous states. So that's one problem. And the other problem is that everybody uses the winner take all. And winner take all means that even if a candidate only loses by a very tiny amount, less than 1% of the state vote, all of the electoral votes go to the opposition. So we end up with situations such as 2000 and 2016, where the winner of the national popular vote did not become president. And worse than that, candidates sit with their teams and they look at the United States and they say, where should we campaign? Here's a battleground state. Here's another state that is completely red or completely blue. And we don't need to go talk to them. And what happens is the candidates don't talk to and don't listen to the voters in many, many states. So it becomes very inequitable. So we are now on to what league positions are. And as you can see, this first league position, the Electoral College is inequitable and undemocratic. That was adopted by the league in 1970. That was 47 years ago. And the problem was becoming apparent then. So the Electoral College is undemocratic. The allocation of votes just it's outdated. The winner take all turns slim majorities into landslides. And people begin to think that my vote doesn't count. So it's discouraging when a candidate with the most popular votes nationwide doesn't win the presidency. And it's discouraging we have become so politically divided. The league has had a position supporting NPVIC since 2010. That is because NPVIC would encourage candidates to campaign across the country because all votes count equally. They've got to listen to everybody. That means that NPV would also get candidates to listen to all points of views and all kinds of problems. NPVIC encourages candidates to adopt agendas that unite voters, not divide them, because all votes matter and more unity means more votes. People want solutions, not division. We're taking a 3-pronged approach to our campaign. We want to educate constituents, all of them, and legislators. We want to build awareness and urgency, and we want to influence the legislative process. So how do you start? Okay, so form a team, educate your members and the public, get your passionate members and your speakers bureau and advocacy group and your publicity people all involved in your team. Train speakers in our League Florida PowerPoint presentation on the Electoral College. Hold an event. Do a talk centered around the PowerPoint, or do a panel discussion with local public officials and legislators. Do something inventive. Palm Beach, we're doing a contest for high school seniors to develop the most inventive and most educational app to promote NPVIC. We're also working with our civics education group and doing things like going to, they're not spelling bees, I forgot what you're called. They are really learning about the Electoral College and NPVIC and hopefully taking them home to their parents. Whatever you do, take pictures and use them everywhere. When you hold this event, use Facebook to live stream the event. We do this all the time now in Palm Beach County. You can expand your audience 2, 5, 10, or even 20 times. We had a sold out event in April, and we could only get 120 people in there. It was viewed as it happened by 2,400 people. You can post the video after you've taken it too on your website, and others can visit later. Use our league-sanctioned Electoral College PowerPoint at the event and reach out to local groups and market it. In Palm Beach County, we do have a very active PowerPoint Speakers Bureau group, and Lenny will talk about that. And we're going to provide you with an action kit, which is full of resources and samples to create social media posts, send a stream of messages advertising your event, reach out to other groups. There's another thing you need to do. You need to build awareness and urgency, and one way is by reinforcing the ideas and issues. In addition to a stream of publicity before and after the event, get the audience at the event to make signs and post Facebook and tweet after the event. This is like message testing 101. You'll see how well your message is received, and you'll learn what's memorable. Take the signs that you made to pop-up demonstrations and rallies and to every single event you hold at your league and any place else that they'll let you take it. Get your members to write letters to the editor. Hold a letter writing party. Get a member of the local newspaper who is in charge of this to come to your party and tell everybody what some good tips are. I'll give you a few quick ones. Papers will run your letter if you comment on their story or on current news and you follow their rules for the length, the number of submissions, etc. It's worthwhile to develop and have a number of letters to the editor ready that you can fire off when a suitable story happens or when news happens. If you want your event publicized, try writing an op-ed about NPVIC in your own voice and send it to the editor. Sometimes they will take this, and it's great publicity. If you can get your event publicized, be ready to follow up with a letter. Keep them short, stick to one or at most two ideas, make them punchy. And I think you league people all know, don't represent yourself as writing for the league unless you're the president of your league. Keep it bipartisan. Hard to do. Keep trying. So we found lots of followers on social media. Christina, who we call our top geek, is going to explain how to use social media. Christina.
Hi there, my name is Christina. As Nancy said, I am a master's student at Florida Atlantic University. I'm getting my master's in political science, so I'm very excited to be interning for the League of Women Voters. I'm also very passionate about this campaign, about this whole project. And then also being in a millennial, I sort of have a little bit of an edge in the social media world. So that is why I am kind of on this portion of the webinar, just to give a little bit of insight on the importance of social media and then just some tips on using social media to help this campaign. So first off, the power of social media, it can be an extremely powerful thing. As we've seen in this past election with Twitter and tweets, it's become one of the most important ways to connect with the citizenry. So it's extremely important to learn how to use it and use it efficiently, use it wisely, and use it to benefit us as much as possible. So first of all, it stimulates conversation because you talk about a topic that maybe not a lot of people have thought about. Maybe it is something that may be a little controversial, but if it starts a conversation, that is what we're really trying to do here, is start a conversation about NPV, about instituting the national popular vote across the country. And then, of course, once it starts that conversation, it engages and promotes discussion. And this can be through sharing informative articles, either about NPV or about the Electoral College. And these articles can also be certain politicians or influencers in the country who have shown support for NPV. That is huge, to be able to share some sort of article that would say, hey, you know, this particular politician that a lot of people know supports NPV. That is a really great way to promote discussion about it. Op-ed pieces, also videos. So that one video that we had at the beginning of the webinar, we'll be sending that to you. But that is also another great way visually to open up and promote discussion about NPV and about the Electoral College. And then another thing about social media is that it's just really easy to participate. Anyone can do it. It doesn't have to just be people in the league. It doesn't have to be the League of Women Voters. It can be a conversation that starts with your friends, with your family, and it's really easy and really fun. Sometimes it can be, these videos are often very informative, but they also are very funny and witty, and so it's a fun way to get people involved who maybe might not know much about the Electoral College or much about what National Popular Vote is trying to do. That's basically a little spiel on the power of social media. One great thing, just showing you how easy it is to share things on social media, like articles. So this is an article called The Apology, and as you can see, there's a little icon that has an F in it. That would be the Facebook icon, and just this is how easy it is to share this article on Facebook. You just click that icon and it goes right, brings it right to your Facebook. You can add a caption, you can leave it just the way it is, and then it can share to your Facebook. And that is just how easy it is to share articles or videos on Facebook, on Twitter, and other social media platforms. And this is just another example of that. As you can see, the icons are on the left side here at the top. And again, you can just click that icon. It will bring you right to your Facebook page. And from there, you can just go ahead and share it. You can write a caption, and we'll talk a little bit more about captions on the next slide. All right, so now I just want to present some examples of social media platforms where you can share these articles and videos. So as you can see here, I've posted one video, and then I've also posted an article. So just a little bit of some tips here. I have 3 tips for these 3 slides. The first would be, as far as caption goes, keep captions concise. If captions are more than a couple of sentences long, readers can become bored or distracted by something else. When you're on social media, you have a million things popping up at you, and it's very easy to just scroll past. If there's something that is, you know, a very long caption, it can sometimes, you know, people will scroll right past it because they don't want to read it all. So one tip that I would give is to keep captions concise. The second tip I would give is to ask questions. This is a great way to engage readers and also to start a conversation about the Electoral College and the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. If you ask questions here, if you see on the second example here, it says, you know, was anyone else surprised by how close the U.S. is to replacing the Electoral College with a popular vote? That's a question, and it can spark a conversation. It can have some people saying, yes, wow, I had no idea. And then it can also say people, you know, you might have people on there saying, you know, it was just a matter of time. It can start a conversation, and that's really what we're trying to do here without maybe taking a particular side. We want to stay, like Nancy said, very bipartisan, very nonpartisan, in fact, and just trying to say this is an issue that we need to come together as a country and not together as one party or another. And then my last tip for this slide would be to encourage readers to tag others. That's a really great way to spread your reach, basically. This expands your reach and it continues the conversation beyond members of just the League of Women Voters or those who follow a particular page that you're sharing on. So that is a really great way to get more people involved, get the conversation continuing beyond the league and beyond just people who follow the particular page that you're sharing on. So next are a couple of examples that you can use on Twitter, and I have a couple of little tips here. The first would be, like I was saying before, keep it nonpartisan. Just keep in mind that we are a nonpartisan effort. So our social media posts shouldn't be a partisan social media posts. We're trying to start a conversation, like I said. So just go ahead and let readers decide their opinion and let them continue the conversation, continue the discussion without taking one side or another. And then the second would be to avoid harsh language. Words like abolish, words like reform, they can often be considered sort of harsh and off-putting. So it's best to somewhat avoid these when trying to engage readers on social media, because we don't want to put people off of the idea of instituting the national popular vote. We would rather have them get curious about it, ask questions, say, okay, what is this all about? What is the Electoral College? Why is this the way it is? And that's kind of what we want to do, rather than say, okay, we want to throw out the Electoral College altogether, because again, that can be a little bit off-putting, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to engage people. We're trying to bring people in. All right, so then the last social media platform I want to give some examples for is Instagram. Now, this social media platform is mostly for sharing photos. So if you have any sort of event, if you go to any sort of rally, it is awesome to take pictures of signage, of those who are there, the groups that are there, and it's a great way to share photos, to share what's going on, the events, and just keep people updated as far as photos go. And so a couple of tips for Instagram. The first would be use some fun facts. Interesting facts are a great way to engage and educate readers at the same time. So as you can see, I put, did you know candidates for all offices except the presidency are elected by popular vote? These include governors, senators, congressional representatives, and state/local offices or officials. So this is a really great way, because maybe people will say, no, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. It's a great way to, again, get the conversation started, get people thinking about this issue. And then the second one, did you know the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact has been enacted in 11 jurisdictions, possessing 165 electoral votes. That is a lot. We're about 2/3 of the way there, which is awesome. People might not know that. So we kind of want to get that information out there in a fun way using photos. Sometimes words can just be overlooked, and if there's a visual to go along with them, is really awesome, which brings me to my next point, which is to use emojis. Emojis are a great way to break up blocks of text and to illustrate your message using, little fun pictures. So I always encourage definitely to use those emojis. They are fun. Like I said, they can break up big blocks of text since we are using a longer caption here. And again, it's all about catching people's eye. It's all about starting that conversation, getting people to think about this, so that when that discussion does happen and people realize, wow, things need to change, they will be more mobilized to get involved in this campaign, get involved with this project, and eventually, reach our goal, having this, having the national popular vote instituted in the U.S. So those are basically my social media examples, my social media tips, and I think that it's all a great way, again, to use social media to our advantage and to just get the conversation out there to as many people as possible, because the more people we have on our side, the easier and the faster it will be to reach our goal of instituting the national popular vote. Thank you so much for having me and listening to what I had to say. And I believe we should have Ethelene or Lenny Jones.
Hello, I'm here.
Lenny,
Hi.
awesome.
The League of Women Voters of Florida has a lovely, fairly new PowerPoint on the Electoral College and the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. I'm going to show you some of the slides from this PowerPoint, which has become our most requested presentation for speakers bureaus. So here are a few slides. The Electoral College allocates votes to each state based on the number of representatives and senators in the U.S. congressional delegation. There are 2 votes for each Senate seat because each state gets 2 senators, and then a number of votes equal to the number of its members in the U.S. House of Representatives. And by the way, House seats are based on the census, which counts a state's entire population, including non-citizens. Florida has 2 senators and 27 representatives, so Florida has 29 electoral votes. Now, because each state, even the least populated, gets 2 Senate seats, the allocation of electoral votes for sparsely populated states is disproportionately high compared to the large, densely populated states, because no matter how small a state, it starts off with those 2 senatorial votes. Therefore, votes by residents in large states count much less than votes by residents in smaller states. Florida, for example, a Florida vote has 1 less the impact of a vote from Wyoming. Now, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact is a bill designed to correct this small state bias. 11 legislatures have already signed on to the National Popular Vote bill. Their legislatures have passed it. Between them, these 10 states and the District of Columbia have 165 electoral votes. The National Popular Vote Compact does not actually go into effect until we have enough states signed on to total 270 electoral votes. That's how many it takes to elect a presidential candidate. So in addition to the 10 state legislatures and the District of Columbia that have passed this bill, it has been passed in at least 1 legislative chamber of 12 additional states, and they would represent 96 more electoral votes. The Electoral College makes all states competitive, makes every vote equal, and guarantees that the candidate with the most popular votes nationwide wins the presidency, because the states that are committed to this compact, their legislatures have instructed their electors. When the NPVIC is activated, their electors will cast their vote for the person who wins the national popular vote, as opposed to the current system, they cast for the person who wins their statewide popular vote. I just want to mention that this PowerPoint is the most frequently requested, and it is designed to educate and motivate the public so that they will push their legislators toward passing the National Popular Vote Interstate Bill. We're going to send you an invitation to participate in a training webinar next Wednesday. There, in the webinar, we'll prepare you to make the presentation of this PowerPoint to organizations in your community. We'll answer all of your questions and make sure you're prepared then to answer the questions of your audiences. Now, we'll turn the floor over to Kathleen Crampton, who is our passionate advocate, and she's going to tell you about our ambitious legislative campaign. Kathleen, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm all about influencing and seeing if we can get some results here. We're about influencing because if everyone's educated and we're build some teams, we got to have something to do, and we're going to lay that out for you. So what are our objectives for the 2018 legislative session in Florida? One, we want to get NPVIC bills filed in Florida, both in the House and Senate. We want to secure bipartisan support, both Republicans and Democrats, and we want hearings to be held during the 2018 session. Just to remind everybody, to get a bill passed like this probably will take 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. So our vision is that we are now really 1 year in. This will really be our second year, so we should be able to get hearings in both House and Senate. You heard me say this is really our second year, and the reason it's really our second year is because there was some progress made in 2017. The session, as you know, ran from roughly from March, during March and April. As you know, we have a part-time legislature, and bills were filed both in the House and the Senate. They didn't go anywhere, but they at least were on the radar. And so our job this year will be to pick it up and move it along and see if we can't get a whole lot more interest in it. So what are we doing? We have 2 key dates. The first date is January 9th when the session opens, and March 9th is when it adjourns. You may wonder why it's a little earlier this year, and that's because the legislature will be up for election in 2018, and many of them want to leave early so that they can get back into their districts and campaign. But what are we going to be doing between now and then? One, we're meeting with the legislators who sponsored the NPVIC bills in 2017. The key person was Representative Joseph Geller from Northern Miami. We've already met with him, and he is a huge advocate of NPVIC. And I will tell you, I think we were happy to find him, and he was happy to find us. We are also meeting with other legislators to begin to broaden and to acquire bipartisan support. We've met with Senator Rader and with the staff of Senator Garcia, and we'll be meeting with them probably in mid-September with Senator Garcia. We have a number of House members, Berman and Abruzzo, who have already said that they're prepared to sign on again. My guess is that all 8 who signed on last year would be willing to sign on again. And Representative Geller also said he will work to find other sponsors, so it won't just fall to us. We really have a leader, and we are his supporters. So this is a good marriage, if you will. And then we want to get hearings. Now, it sounds easy just to get a hearing, but it's not so easy. It's a very short period of time, and we will have to work hard to get a hearing. And if we get a hearing, oh my goodness, that will be fabulous because it'll set things up for 2019. We are also doing something else. In 2009, there was an NPVIC survey done nationwide that looked at all of the states to get a sense of where the public was in terms of popular vote. But it's now 2017 and 8 years later, and so we are about to commission Dr. Kevin Wagner, who's an associate professor of political science at FAU, to conduct a survey for us. We're going to do a survey of about 800 likely Florida voters to determine their support of electing our president by direct popular vote. And we will be doing the survey the last week in October and the first week in November. We want to make sure that we get those winter birds back in their winter nest so that they'll respond. And then, so why are we doing this? Well, one is we want the information so that we can use it. We will share the results with the League of Women Voter members, those of you who are on the phone. We will also do press releases. We will talk to our elected officials. We'll talk to the press, and we'll talk to the editorial boards. The numbers have been very good in the past. We hope that they will be good again, but it will provide us with, if you will, some substance, some meat on the bones to help us get support from folks. This is the most important slide. What can you all do? Well, there are really 3 things. 1, talk about the NPVIC. Honest to goodness, before this, I was at a kind of early cocktail party, and I talked to a couple of people. They have no idea what this is all about. So just having, chit-chatting with people is hugely successful. Then also among your own friends and colleagues, particularly members of the League of Women Voters, which as an aside has a wonderful, wonderful reputation with our legislators, identify other people who would be willing to support the NPVIC and let us know who they are. Well, this is a big tent operation, and we look forward to having as many people participate as possible. And then third, we will give you materials. We have developed a fair amount of materials, and we look forward to sending this information to you and providing you with essentially steps so that you won't feel that you're out there all by yourself doing stuff. And we're going to target selected legislators. The real question is, are the battleground states going to be the ones who are going to tell us what's happening in the United States vis-a-vis our next president, or will it be all of us who make that choice? So we invite you to join us. This is a very exciting time. There is a lot of interest in the legislature, and we look forward to having you join us. With that, I'm turning it back to Nancy for some questions and answers.